Okay guys, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back everyone, nice to meet you again. Today inshallah, very important session about measurements. Measurements in physics are too important, very important. If we don't have measure, we don't have numbers. We cannot understand. We can't measure the mass, volume, distance, all of these things. We should to use numbers. We should to count numbers. Okay, without the measurements, we will say this wall tall, short. But that's not necessary to understand. Now we don't understand what are you talking about when you said that tall and short. I don't understand. But when I said that this wall tall is 100 meter, that is tall. Yes, 100 meters, very tall. Okay, or short, just 2 meters, like that. Okay, now that is the measurements, to use numbers, to count numbers. Okay, now and also guys, we said that before, we have something called unit. We said before the unit. What is the unit? The unit is very important to understand what I'm talking about. That is the unit. Okay, that is called unit. When I said that I spent with my friend yesterday one, and stop talking. Which one? Which one? I don't understand you. But when I said that 1 hour, 1 minute, 1 second, 1 day, 1 year, 1,000 years, now you understand. Now you understand. You should to determine which one. That is called unit. Today we will talking about the units, okay, and how the people can use units. At the beginning we have something called standard units. Standard units, okay. Okay, standard units, guys, it means the measurements when the people agree, okay, when the people agree with. What does it mean? Suppose that me with my friends, we will create a new unit. Yes, we will create a new unit. Now in this case we will make a new unit. Suppose that we will measure mass by the donuts. Yes, that's my opinion. I will measure mass by using donuts. I will say that my book equals 5 donuts, and my father's car equals 1 million units. 1 million donuts. Okay, donuts here. That is standard unit. I will agree with my group with this standard unit, and we will measure the line by hand, okay, by Mr. Kemal's hand, for example. Now I will say that my laptop is 2 hands, okay, my table is 5 hands. Hands here, that is the unit of the distance, okay. Now that's the meaning of standard unit. Standard unit, it means the measurements on which people agree with, okay, when the people agree with. Now of course guys, to using donuts and to using hands is not really common to use in science. We can't say that in mass and in distance in science, okay, because that the people use another kind of units. For example, now he give you example. For example, in United States, they will use for distance, they will use inch. I think you hear that before. They will use inch and use mile for distance, and use pound and ounce. OZ, it means ounce. LB, it means pound. Use pound and ounce to measuring mass. That is called English system. That is called English system, okay. Now that is an example of standard unit. Now the standard unit in the United States is English system. That is the standard unit for people live in the United States, and they agree with this kind of unit, okay. That is called English system. Use inch and mile for distance, use pound and ounce for mass. That is the standard unit for the United States, okay. Again, we said that standard unit, it means which people agree with. The unit which people agree with. Like United States use English system standard unit. Use inch and mile for distance. Use pound and ounce for mass. That is the first example of standard unit. Now, the first example, as you see here, the United States use English system. Now, the second example, that's the most common unit in all world use it, okay? And also the scientists use it. That is called metric system. Metric system, that is the second example. And this one's most common. Most of countries in our world use this metric system. Use metric system. Okay, guys? Now, repeat with me, guys, please, without microphone. Metric system. Yeah, and metric, as you see here, come from meter. If you know the meters, now metric system come from meters. Anyways, we explain that now, okay? Now, and metric system, we have another name for this metric system. That is called SI unit. You can write behind, or you can write beside, okay? SI unit. It means System International Unit. System International Unit. Okay? That is more general and more famous system uses for the whole world. Okay? Now, the metric system based on units of 10. Based on 10. Okay? What does it mean? What does it mean? Okay. Now, look over here. Let's open the board to explain this point. Now, we are talking about metric system based on 10. What does it mean? Look over, guys, here. Suppose that we will use meters. Okay? Meters. As you see here, meters, it will be the basic unit for distance. We will use meters for distance. Okay? But sometimes you will hear that centimeters, millimeters, kilometers, right? Yeah, that is metric system. What does it mean? Let's complete more. Let's explain more. Okay, look over, guys. When we moves up, it will become bigger in unit. When we moves down, it will be smaller in unit. Okay, now when we moves up more than meters, okay, we have something else called decameter. Decameter, but that's not in your curriculum. You don't need to know, but I should explain it. Okay, decameter, and we have also hectometer. Hectometer, I think, like that. Okay, but that's also not in your curriculum. And the kilometer, of course, all of you know the kilometer. Okay, and the smaller we have decimeter, decimeter, and we have centimeter, centimeter, and we have millimeter. Okay, let's explain more. Now, decameter, it will be bigger than 10 times meter. Bigger than meters 10 times. And hecto, bigger than meters 100 times. And this one bigger than meter 1,000 times. Okay, when we move down, now DC, it will be smaller than meter, smaller 10 times. It means divided by. And centi, it will be smaller 100 times, and milli smaller 1,000 times. Okay, guys? Now, as you see here, can you see that 10, 100, 1,000, all of them we have zeros. It means what? It means it will depend on 10. That is called metric system. Now, metric system depends on 10, as you see here. Now, we can move from meter to kilometer or from meter to decimeter, depends on 10. That is called metric unit or metric system unit. Metric system unit, it means unit depends on 10. Okay? metric system, it means depends on 10, as you see here. Okay, and also we have 2 points to understand more. Okay, now at the beginning, can you see that here? This D, C, M. Okay, now when we can use this first letter, okay, to make it easier. What does it mean? It means like that. When I said that MM, it means millimeter. CM, it means centimeter. DM, it means decimeter. When I said that KM, it means kilometer. When I said that HM, it means hectometer. When I said DAM, it means decameter. Okay, but it's not in your curriculum, deca and hecta, because that I don't explain it, I just explain the others. Okay, now when we say that D, C, M, and this the meaning of the DC, centi, and like that. Okay, and also guys, the second point you should understand, all of these DC, centi, milli, kilo, all of these called prefixes. Okay, prefixes. Now, prefixes, it means what? It means the 10th of this one. DC, centi, milli, kilo. Okay, all of these called prefixes. Okay, now I will answer some problems to understand more. Okay, now guys, our friend asked about, can we compare between a metric system and English system? Of course. Now 10 centimeters, that is a metric system. 4 inch, that is the English system. By this way, the most important point is, how can we convert? How can we know that? How much meters in 1 kilometer, for example? How much meters in 1 kilometer? How much decimeter in 1 meter? How much millimeter in 1 meter? The point is, how can we convert from any of these to anyone else? If we want to know how much kilometers in 1 meter, if we want to know how much centimeters in 1 meter, like that. Okay, now we have some steps, we will use it, okay, to understand that. Okay, the first step is, you should to memorize these prefixes very well. Okay, don't memorize hecto and deca, don't memorize it. Okay, but you should to know the place of this, because we will use some ways to answer the problems now. You should to understand and memorize this in order, like that. You should to understand and memorize all of these in order. Meters, deca, hecta, kilo, down, DC, centi, milli. You should to memorize all of them in order. Okay, that is the first thing you should to know. Okay, the second thing is the rule from bigger to smaller. Okay, from bigger to smaller. Okay, now from bigger to smaller, okay, we will make multiply. From smaller to bigger, we will make divided by. Okay, now for example, if he asked you about how much meters in 1 kilometer, now we want to convert from bigger to smaller. Okay, how much meters in 1 kilometer? It means he want to convert from bigger to smaller, we will make multiply. Okay, now the third step is count how much feet you will use. For example, now we want to convert from 1 kilometer to meter. Where is the kilometer? Here, that is the kilometer. Where is the meter? That is the meters. Okay, now from kilometer to meters, from bigger to smaller, multiply how much? Okay, now count how much steps you will use. Okay, now 1, 2, okay, 3. To reach meters, we will use 3 steps or 3 feet. 1, 2, 3. Now 1,000. Okay, now that is the third step we will use. Now 1 kilometer equals 1 multiply 1,000 equals 1,000 meters. Okay, now let's answer some problems to understand more. Okay, let's start, guys. Now he'll ask you that, okay, in 1 meters, okay, how much of okay, now that's the question. How much of, okay, how much of centimeter, how much of decimeter, how much of the kilometer? Okay, now let's answer the question. First step is we are memorizing this. The second step is multiply or multiply or divided. Okay, now let's take a look here. From meters to centimeter. Now that is the meter and that is the centimeter here. That is the centimeter here. Okay, now from bigger to smaller, multiply. Okay, now multiply. Okay, now multiply how much steps we will use? 1, 2. Okay, now multiply 100. Multiply 100. Okay, now it equals 100 centimeter. Like that. Let's answer another question. From 1 meter to decimeter, meter, decimeter, multiply. Multiply how much distance we will use, or how much steps? 1 step. Okay, now just 10. Okay, it equals 10 decimeter. Okay, now let's look over here. From meters to kilometers. Now from smaller to bigger. From smaller to bigger, divided by. Divided by how much? 1, 2, 3. Okay, now divided by 1,000. It equals 1 divided by 1,000 kilometers. And we have a lot of problems like that. Okay, thanks a lot for listening. See you next time, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Goodbye.